This week, as we make our way from Baja to Alaska, we stop in San Francisco, California, which won our hearts over. That and more on this episode of the RV Miles podcast. This spring, LL Bean wants to help you feel great out there with gear, tips, and advice for heading outdoors and exploring all the possibilities of the season. Here's one of our favorite camping hacks. You can make your own fire starters by rubbing cotton balls in petroleum jelly, then storing them in an old medication bottle or a mint tin. These compact starters fit in a pocket and light up quickly for easy campfires on cool nights. For more fun ideas, easy how-tos, and inspiring stories, visit llbean.com/guide. Welcome to episode number 273 of RV Miles. I'm Jason.
And I'm Abby. And we are two full-time travelers who, along with our three boys, Jack, Ethan, and Henry, have been crisscrossing North America on one epic road trip since 2016. Here at RV Miles, we talk all things RV and outdoors, from industry news to travel destinations, our national parks, and a whole lot more.
We come to you from the Sonoma coast this week, where the weather is absolutely gorgeous, as it has been really since we got to San Francisco. Or since the day after we got to San Francisco. We've just been really enjoying California spring after it's finally, the rain is all gone and the atmospheric rivers and everything are gone, and we have just had some lovely weeks. We had a great time in Yosemite with beautiful weather last week and few people. We kind of hit this just perfect window of weather there. The weather's great here, and we're in the spring and the super bloom and all that sort of stuff happening. And we'll tell you all about Yosemite on a later episode. Today is about San Francisco. But first, we wanted to give you a little bit of an update on this Nomad internet scandal. And
are you going to play dramatic music underneath this here?
Well, and perhaps, you podcast listeners, if you're not YouTube watchers, haven't even heard about this at all yet. But there's a company out there called Nomad Internet, which is a reseller of cellular data plans. So they, and there's several of these companies out there. You've heard us talk about Travel Data in the past, which is a company that I think is still a decent option. But Nomad Internet was doing what all these third-party resellers do, and they resell cellular plans that come from Verizon or T-Mobile or AT&T, and they may be kosher, they may be not. They may be allowed to sell those plans, they may be not. Those plans might be for business use only, they might be for stationary use only, they might be taking cell phone SIM cards and kind of making the carrier think that you're using cell phone data when you're really not. And all that sort of stuff ends up taxing the networks of these carriers, and they shut the plans down, and then they have to send you a new SIM card. Anyway, Nomad Internet has been getting a reputation. They've kind of had, if we're honest, a reputation for a while from a lot of people for having a lot of issues.
A reputation that had us staying very, very far away from them.
Yeah, lots of people complaining about their customer service. So even when some of the other companies, when you do have a problem, they may fix it fast, but Nomad was not fixing things fast for people at all, or not responding. They were double billing people. They were charging people for a new device and not shipping it out for weeks and weeks. So lots of that sort of stuff going on. So what happened was a bunch of influencers sort of dropped their relationship with them on YouTube rather quickly, right? Mm-hmm. That sort of brought up some of the stuff in the CEO's past about how he potentially might be a different person hiding from his past crypto scamming years.
Yes, let's make sure we use a lot of allegedly as allegedly. He is one person pretending to be another person currently.
Though this sort of fallout from this in the company, what they've done in the days since, it sort of confirms, what happened. I saw a comment on one of the videos that they've put out recently that said Jaden Garza is not really he's stepping away because he doesn't want his past problems to, cause issues with the current company and stuff like that. So anyway, I did a whole deep investigation sort of thing with help from our friend Jamie and Abby and lots of other people helped put together this sort of investigation into this guy's past. And we ended up figuring out where he lives.
It's wild. It is a true crime podcast that we are contemplating writing.
So,
it is insane.
This guy, he owes over $9 million, closer to 10.
If Jaden Garza,
if he's the same person.
Please, let's make that very clear. If Jaden Garza is Joshua Garza, he owes $9 million for a Ponzi scheme.
In restitution over a crypto Ponzi scheme.
Yes.
And he did some awful stuff during that time, and some stuff that I wasn't even able to talk about because I wasn't able to, confirm from two sources or anything like that. The bottom line is, while owing restitution in the millions, he's sort of living in a mansion, allegedly, with a butler and a maid, allegedly. With fancy cars and private jets and all that sort of stuff.
Which we know Jaden Garza has. Those are not the allegedlys. We know that those things exist.
Yeah.
It's just when Joshua Garza disappeared and we haven't been able to locate him, and then Jaden Garza just appeared around the exact same time. It's all very frustrating. The story was really frustrating. It's one of those that you think, how is this allowed to happen? But it happens, and this is not the first time a story like this in our world has popped up. It is not the last time. It is wild to me that we're talking about it in the RV industry.
Yeah, it's really weird.
Crazy to me.
And a lot of, I think there's a lot of backlash against some of the influencers that worked with this company. And some of them we know, some of them we don't. We talked to some of them for this story and stuff like that. I think when it comes down to it, though, the thing I hope people understand is that all these people are different. Some people that work in this space and do what we do, where we talk to you, we build an audience, we build a brand, we share with you our travels and the things we do, and we sometimes share products with you that we're paid to share with you. Some people are more clear about that than others. We try to keep everything basically, this is sponsored by, this is an ad.
Welcome to our commercial.
And we hope you take that with a grain of salt. We don't expect you to look at this ad as us telling you this is a product we use every day, and we think that we hope it's clear to you, and we want to continue to make it clear to you that we only really work with companies that we trust in general, though we have made mistakes in the past, and we generally only work with companies where we have gone and done some research and other people like the products, and usually we also like the product and use it. We definitely wouldn't work with somebody where we didn't like the product, but we want you to know that these are ads. Just like when you watch a TV show, if you're watching The Price is Right, and
oh my God.
And they have a Hyundai that they're giving away up there. I assume you know that Drew Carey isn't saying you should buy a Hyundai. It is the best car there is.
Do you think Drew Carey drives a Hyundai? Do you think Jason Bateman drives a Hyundai?
He might.
Because he's the voice for Hyundai.
But this whole scandal had a lot of people thinking in more detail about how they approached that. And some of these people were really duped by this guy who is a legitimate con artist, or allegedly was a legitimate con artist. They were just as taken by a lot of people. They lost money, all sorts of stuff. And some people weren't so responsible. Some people have been working with this company for years, and their audience has been telling them of the problems for years, and they continue to work with it.
They're like, oh, really? Sorry. Let me get off my Starlink and go over and check and see how this is.
Well, I think the bottom line is just go learn from the folks at the Mobile Internet Resource Center about internet. Don't learn from anybody really, other than people that know what they're really getting into. But what they're going to tell you is that there was never anything special about this company. They purport to be like providing you special equipment that allows you to do things that nobody else allows you to do, but they're just slapping their sticker on routers that they bought. They're just putting a Verizon SIM card in that router. It is Verizon Internet. It is somebody else's router, and there's nothing special about that. You can get that from lots of different places. You can get options from the main carriers themselves these days. You don't need a company like this for any reason. You don't need to deal with the drama of somebody like this. And thank you to everybody that has reached out to us since we put this story out. There's been many past customers that have sent us lots of info about their issues, past employees, past victims of the crypto scam, all sorts of stuff. And we really appreciate the positive feedback about the story. And it was a lot of work. It was sort of a labor of love, and we really enjoyed putting it together for you. So if you haven't checked it out yet, go check it out on YouTube, and we'll put a link to it in the description.
Yeah, and let's get back to our regularly scheduled program now here in the wonderful world of RVing, because so many people have been kind of dominated by this story, and it's been really frustrating for a very, very long time.
I should also add, though, that it is that we do have a text version of it on the website, which we have brought back the website. It's nothing totally special yet. We're lots of work going into like reinvigorating the website. It has been sort of a process of getting back to here, but we are going to be putting more articles out going forward, and that is one of the sort of first new articles that we have on there.
Yeah, there's lots of news on there now. That's really going to be the focus over on that website is, and it's rvmiles.com, because I know it's been a long time since we've said those words, but you can go over there and kind of see what's happening. Again, Jason said it's a work in progress, but we knew that if we didn't just bring it back, we would be working on it for the rest of our lives. So we went ahead and just made it public. Again, you can go read some of the new stories that are over there. And while you're over there as well, you can click on the little button that is going to invite you to become a Mile Marker member. And we just want to bring that up really quick, because our next live stream is scheduled for Monday, May 1st. That is, first off, can you believe we're even talking about May?
No, it's wild.
We were just welcoming 2023, it felt like. But every month we do monthly night live. You might remember this. We do this for our Mile Marker members. It's an hour of fun where we sit around, we answer your questions, we talk about what's going on in the industry. We are coming to you from all different kinds of locations, from Baja up to Alaska. We've done our lives in the past in Baja. We've been in San Diego. We are now going to be, I believe, in Oregon when this one happens in May. So that's very exciting. So if you want to become a Mile Marker member and support our small business and support what we're trying to do here at RV Miles, which allows us with this support to do those deep dive stories that Jason did on Nomad Internet, you can just go to rvmiles.com/mile markers to learn more.
All right, we're going to be back in a moment to talk about San Francisco. Yes, you can visit a big city in an RV. It's not cheap, though. We'll be right back.
This episode is supported by ParkWolf, the ultimate app for visiting U.S. national parks. With ParkWolf, you can view upcoming places and amenities as you drive through the park, locate the nearest gas, food, bathrooms, and pullover points. ParkWolf's wildlife maps show you the best times and places to see or avoid wildlife, along with a feed of the latest wildlife sighting photos from the parks. ParkWolf even makes it possible for you to view your live location and direction on official park maps while staying up to date on current NPS alerts and advisories. ParkWolf keeps working even if you lose service. To learn more, download the ParkWolf app for iPhone free from the Apple App Store today.
The team at Harvest Hosts has just launched a great new campground discount program called Campers Card. For just $39 a year, you'll receive benefits such as early check-in, late checkout, and discounts on nightly camping fees, which will quickly offset the membership cost. Get 15% off your first year of membership with the code MILES, that's MILES. But if you're a current Harvest Host or Boondockers Welcome member, you'll get an even better deal, 25% off your first year of membership. What are you waiting for? Go to camperscard.com to join Campers Card today.
We're back, and it's time to talk about San Francisco, California. And, you know, a lot of folks, I think, RV for different reasons. Some of us travel to get out into nature and to avoid the hustle and bustle of city life. Some of us travel to visit all our national parks. Some of us travel to be tourists wherever we go. Doesn't matter what it is. And that's sort of where we land. But what's cool about San Francisco is that it just offers everything.
Oh my goodness. So this city just exceeded all of my expectations. I was house shopping while we were there.
That's never going to happen.
So funny. It was so funny to try and look for a house. I am obsessed with this little town called Mill Valley, which is just the most charming place. We're going to talk about that in a second. But first, we want to talk about where we camped in San Francisco. And so we stayed at Marin RV Resort. And this is in Marin County. It's across the bay. And let's just say that to call them, it is the smallest space we have ever put an RV into.
You've seen it on the last couple of podcasts.
Yes,
we
you saw.
there.
You saw Jason do. I think you did a news video.
I did, and the podcast where you weren't with me. I did from there too, and literally standing between our RV and Jamie and Clay's, and I could touch both at the same time. So that would mean that they're 6 feet apart. And it was tight. And we also talked recently about sort of when we talked about San Diego, the comparison of that and the Sun Outdoors in San Diego, which were essentially the same price, where we had sort of the best resort experience ever in San Diego and kind of the worst ever. To even call it's a parking lot.
Yeah,
it's
so
the parking lot.
It was perfect though, in the sense of to visit San Francisco, because San Diego was a campground we didn't want to leave. In San Francisco, we couldn't get out of there every day fast
because there's
enough.
nothing to do. You
There's
can't
just
sit outside and talk. You feel self-conscious because your neighbors can hear you. The pool was closed. It was a tiny pool anyway.
A pool that looked like just a hole in the ground.
They did have a nice laundry.
They did have a very nice laundry room. So
it is a good. I don't want to talk down too much about it because
it's perfect for visiting San Francisco.
They leave you alone. The people were nice in the office, and the bathrooms are nice and clean, and all good stuff on that front.
They come out, they rake the gravel. It's all. They're very, very nice, but it is meant to just essentially be like, I'm storing my RV here so that I can go and explore San Francisco and the surrounding area. Now, one of the other really nice things, though, about this park, and really kind of what I think was the saving grace for it on days when we weren't going into San Francisco, is its proximity to other places you can go to, especially if you take your bikes. This was, I think, for us, one of the first times where we have really been able to utilize the bikes to get around to other locations. There's also a Trader Joe's like 2 minutes from this campground.
The whole Bay Area is just very bike friendly.
Yeah. So we really love, like, you can leave the campground, you can immediately get onto a bike trail. You can take that bike trail over to either the Marin County Mart, which is this outdoor sort of boutique shopping center with small business stores, with restaurants, coffee shops, donut shops. We went over there many, many days and worked over there and enjoyed being in the open air of this little boutique. They've got a farmer's market on the weekends. It's fantastic. We loved it over there.
And that is walkable too. If you don't have bikes, it is walkable, or you could drive your vehicle over there, whatever. There's parking as well too. But you could walk from this place, and you can walk to the ferry, which was the easiest way for us to get in to San Francisco from this park. So you're on sort of the opposite end of the bay. You go over to the ferry terminal. It has lots of runs throughout the day, every day. and you pay your fee, get on, and it takes about 45 minutes to get over.
Yeah, so a couple of things about this ferry. So it was the Larkspur Ferry, and it's going to take you into the San Francisco Terminal C. And absolutely, when you get over to that terminal, make sure you go in and walk around and check out all of the shops and restaurants in there. Get an empanada while you are in there, because those empanadas are so good. But that's one thing. The second thing is that during the week, the commute over is a little bit faster than on the weekends. Some people might be a little bit prone to motion sickness on the ferry. If you are someone who's prone to motion sickness, please take that into consideration.
And there are two sizes of ferries that they use. The bigger one is pretty big and doesn't have as much rocking from what I understand. We didn't take the smaller one, or I did. You did.
So basically it's the weekday one is for everyone who's commuting in, and they're going to move a little bit faster and try to get you over into downtown. And then the weekend one is really designed for all the tourists who want to go in and spend the day. So it goes a little bit slower. It's a bigger boat. Both are totally fine. I was fine for the most part. We went in on kind of one choppy day, and I was like, oh, let's just get into the dock, please. Also, you're going to want to get a Clipper card. Now, we did ours online and put them in the wallets on our phone. And if you do that, as opposed to getting the physical card, you won't have to pay the physical card fee. But everyone, now this got me. Everyone has to have their own Clipper card. I cannot use my Clipper card to pay for the boys. Jack had to have one. Ethan had to have one, and Henry had to have one.
You were able to put multiple on your phone, but you made the mistake of loading yours up with a lot of money.
Yes.
Which you couldn't then move to the other ones.
No, and you cannot move money between cards.
Yeah.
So I misread what was on the website and thought that I could load up my card just for me as an adult to pay for my kids. And I had a card for Jason, and they were like, no, you absolutely cannot do that.
So you can't it won't work. If you try to scan a card and then use it again for the next person, like you might have done in other cities, and just have, I don't know why, it's going to deduct the same amount. It will not work. If there's like a delay, so it won't work for that person. It won't work again until after a certain amount of time has passed.
And it's also the same price for adults and children. It was $8.50 a ride, and that's not round trip. That's $8.50 there and $8.50 back. Now you're probably saying, whoa, Abby, that's like $17 a person.
Yeah.
That is very expensive. Just know that it does cost you money to go across the Golden Gate Bridge.
Yeah, you have to pay to go. So we could have drove. So it would cost us money. It would cost us a toll to go across the bridge, depending on the time of day and stuff. And then we would have had to pay to park. It probably still would have been cheaper to drive and park, but it also would have been more annoying.
Right, we have a truck. That's not the easiest thing to try and find like street parking with.
And with the Clipper card, then you can use the other public transportation, like the trolleys, which is one thing that we really wanted to do, was go ride, of course, the famous San Francisco cable car trolleys, and we did that.
Which we did, and we were able to use the Clipper card. Now, here's a tip from us to you. We went to the beginning point of the trolley, and there was a nice long line for everyone to get on. And so we had been waiting for a while, and when it finally came up to our turn, the people in front, they got on. They filled up the section of the trolley where you sit sideways or, so you can see out. And we had been waiting for so long, the conductor asked if anyone wanted to come on into the back of the trolley, which is more of a traditional enclosed space, but you still have open air windows. And I made the decision like, yeah, let's get on. It's not very busy. Let's do that. And then we can get moving because we've been standing here for so long and we have like goals we want to meet before we have to be back to the ferry at a certain time. So we got on, and we didn't realize that the trolley would continue to stop, and those people would get come on, and what they're going to do, where are they going to go? Well, they're going to fill in all of that space in the enclosed section.
Their butts in your face.
And so then there was basically no view for us of the trolley going up the hills and getting that amazing, iconic, San Francisco view.
It was still a lot of fun, though.
It was still a lot of fun, but I felt really bad because, everyone wanted to get on and everyone was tired of standing in line. But it didn't occur to us that it would become as packed. as it was. And then you're trying to navigate to paying with the Clipper card when you get on, which becomes like its whole thing.
It's all weird.
It's very weird.
But it was a very long line to get on. And was it more efficient than taking like a city bus or something? No.
I don't know. I mean, we did.
Well, we waited in line for like 45 minutes to get on it.
Sure. But when I went to, and I'm going to talk about this in a minute, but when I went on my Full House tour, we took the bus to get there. And we had to wait for the bus to show up. And where we were waiting was the end of the line. And you know how when they get to the end of the line, the bus drivers hit the flashers and then they get out and they take their break?
Yeah. So you just sit and wait.
Yeah. So then we were like waiting for a rightly deserved break for the bus driver. So was it? I don't know that it was quicker. And then there were a lot of stops on the trolley. There are a lot of stops, at least on the bus that we were on, and they are not gentle with those stops.
Bikes.
They're like 50 miles, stop. 50 miles to the next block, stop.
If you want to get around downtown San Francisco, bikes are the way. Now, I guess on the flat areas, like towards the water.
I am not going up a hill.
If you want to go up the hill, San Francisco, as you may know, is very, very hilly, and maybe you don't want to take bikes up many of those.
No. So we took the trolley and we took it over to Fisherman's Wharf, to the area of Fisherman's Wharf, because we wanted to do two things over there. So, there's a lot of National Park Service sites in San Francisco, probably more than you realize. And so they're all kind of under the Golden Gate Recreation area, but there's a lot of little individual ones. There's Rosie the Riveter and there's Muir Woods. And one of the ones that we took down by Fisherman's Wharf that we went and visited was the San Francisco Maritime National Historical Park. And this is an opportunity to go on to some of the vessels that they have there, some of the sailboats, and kind of get an idea of what these massive ships were like in the 19th century and the kind of cargo that they were taking and bringing over, and learn that history kind of hands-on. And so we did that. And I think I can safely say for everyone that was there, we had a way better time than I thought everyone was going to have.
It was amazing. You're walking on these tall ships and steamer ships and what have you, and they're right on the bay. You can see Alcatraz from there. You can see the Golden Gate Bridge. There are elephant seals that are barking around you.
Amazing.
You get a beautiful view of the city behind you. It was wonderful.
Because you mentioned Alcatraz, I feel like I got to jump back like 5 steps really quick and say that so you've got sites all around you at our campground. And one of the sites you can see at Marin RV is San Quentin.
Yeah, San Quentin, the historic prison.
You've got a great
right
view.
There.
It's not far from you. It's just a few miles.
It's not Alcatraz.
No.
It's the actual operating San Quentin.
Yeah, just a few miles down the road. It's fine. So we had a great time. I knew I was going to love this because it's old-timey, it's historic. You get to actually be a part of that history. And also we met a ranger who was really, really wonderful. And she actually took us down into a section of the tall ship that they had closed off. It was still very safe, but they had it closed off because they have been dealing with all kinds of crazy weather there, all that rain and hail and, extreme weathers that they're not very accustomed to in that area. And there had been some damage and some water damage to these tall ships that they were in the process of repairing and trying to dry out. So they had closed it off to the public, but I had asked her a few questions and she kind of was like, it's better to just show you. And so she took us down there and she led us through on what ended up being kind of like a private guided tour.
And
it was
special.
It was really cool that she did that for us.
We chatted her up. It wasn't, it was great.
I didn't ask her to do it. It's just that she recognized there was like a captive audience. And she even said to me, your crew just looked like one that would be totally fine for me to take down there. And I took that as a compliment because, there were like 4 kids with us. And So that was really great. We did that on a particular day that we did the trolley.
And on that same day, we went from there right across the street to Ghirardelli Square. So
man.
if you're not familiar, the Ghirardelli Chocolate Company is from San Francisco, and there is a very, very large campus that they run that has several ways to access their chocolates.
Lots of ways
They've
to
got
access
several
their
stores.
chocolates.
There's an ice cream counter and coffee shops and everything. And but there's also several restaurants that are not sort of ran and owned, and shops and stuff that aren't ran and owned by Ghirardelli.
Yeah, Yes, it's its own place. You have plenty that you can do there. You could spend a couple of hours there and absolutely enjoy it. We had lunch there and we ate at a place called Barrio. It was delicious. The margaritas are very good.
Sort of like high-end taco
Very
sort of
expensive,
just not cheap.
Yeah. Don't look at prices if you're making the choice to go to some of these places.
Nothing in San Francisco is really affordable.
Budget for
isn't.
this trip. Just budget and then just make peace with the budget. Like, just let it go.
The National Park Service sites are affordable.
Very.
You can do those.
And of course, if you have any of the passes, they are absolutely free to you as well. One of the things I want to say, though, with the Ghirardelli shop, Ghirardelli?
No.
Ghirardelli?
Yes.
You know it's tomato.
No, it's not. It's Ghirardelli. It's never been anything other than Ghirardelli. It's just Ghirardelli.
So one of the things if you go into Jason, who clearly worked closely with the Ghirardelli family, if you go into one of the shops and you decide to get some ice cream, we have kids that love ice cream. Our kids can eat. I am married to someone whose diet was primarily ice cream as a child. Okay. So we have a family that loves ice cream. You can share these. They're huge. Like, our kids couldn't finish them. Well, one of our kids, Jack, finished it. That did not surprise me. But the other two, and Henry, he can hold his own.
It was too much chocolate for him.
It was too much. So you can easily share one of these. If you look at the price and you think, oh my gosh, because they are expensive, you can share one and still get a ton of ice cream out of that and still not feel like, oh, I only got a couple bites and we were sharing. You can absolutely share these. So there's a way there that you can kind of cut the budget a little bit if you need to. Again, even the trolley is going to cost, I think it was $8 a rider for the trolley. And that's a get off wherever you want to get off, and you can get on. They have multiple stops throughout San Francisco as well. Another thing I want to talk about, which you were not a part of, Jamie and I went in on a Friday night while you and Clay took the kids to see the Super Mario movie. Jamie and I went into town. We met up with some other full-timing moms, and we all went on a Full House tour. If you were a child of the 80s, like me, it's quite possible that you watched Full House. I used to be... Oh, I just thought DJ Tanner was so cool. I just thought she was the coolest. I wanted to be like her on Friday nights because TJIF, right? Like,
I just had this image. You remember that episode where
side ponytail?
where DJ and Kimmy were going out and they put makeup on?
Oh yeah.
I was just imagining you just like really overdoing it, like the first time you put makeup on. And
8-year-old Abby was so enamored with DJ Tanner. In fact, to the point where on Friday nights, this is when my family lived in Gulfport, Mississippi. And so I'd be outside like running around with all of my friends in the neighborhood. And if it was Friday night, it did not matter what I was doing. My mom would come out, she'd get out on the front porch and she'd be like, Abby, Full House is on. And I would be like, peace. And I would drop whatever I was doing with my friends, ride my Huffy banana seat bike home, and make sure I was present for Full House. That's how much I loved it. So we went into town and found the two areas that are associated with the show with Full House. We found the house that's used as the like kind of zooming in on the house, you know, like to the front door at the beginning of like a scene or an episode. And then we found the colorful row of houses that is in the intro where they're sitting out on the park and that whatever happened to, you know, that's all playing. We found those. I took a lot of pictures of myself. I sent them to my brothers, and no, I didn't even title the photo. And everyone was like, "Full house, full house, full house." So that was a lot of fun. You would probably have not enjoyed it. Did not watch Full House. I don't think.
What are you talking about?
You are more of a
I have seen every episode
Family Matters
of
kind of guy.
Well, yeah, you go watch Family Matters and Step by Step and Fresh
Step by
Prince
Step.
and like, I mean,
Wait, Fresh
yes, I
Prince
watched.
wasn't a part of.
No, not
That
part
was
of
ABC.
TGF, but like I've watched, but that was different nights. You watched. I mean, I watched
Fresh
all the
Prince was
shows. I watched
ABC.
all the shows, all of them,
Well, when I told you I was doing this, you were just like, okay.
because
Like,
it's just a house they used in the opening shot and has absolutely
my
nothing to do with the actual
gosh.
show.
Who are you? You cannot.
Okay, so they used to have on the Universal Studios backlot
You love
the
this.
house. I do love the backlot, but they
man,
had
you love it so
they had
much.
the Golden Girls house, and I saw it, and I was like, as like a kid, and I was like, oh, like they don't film it here. This is just like what they used in the shot in the opening sequence. Like, why do I care about?
Why do I care?
That
Why
didn't bother
would?
me. Yeah. Yeah.
You know what? Did I ever tell you the story of how, speaking of Golden Girls, my youngest brother, who is about 8 years younger than me, we used to watch Golden Girls all the time on reruns, and he at like toddler age, like 3, 4, was obsessed with Sophia. He just thought that she was so cool. And he would go around being like, Sophia, Sophia, like toddling around, like saying her name. It's the wildest thing. I don't think Golden Girls ever thought that they would have a mega fan and like a 3-year-old that's just like toddling around the house saying Sophia's name. That was such a good show.
We've moved
So
a
good.
bit away from the subject. We're in
We
Florida
have.
now, and I don't know how we got there.
Because you brought up Universal, so
the
we
last thing we want to talk about in San Francisco is visiting the Muir Woods.
Yes. This is on the other side of the bay, so you don't actually have to cross over the Gold.
It's much closer to the campground.
Yeah, so you can drive. We drove over. You do have to get a timed entry into the park.
And it's a paid parking situation that you're paying for. Even if you have a park pass, you're paying for the parking.
You are. And this is one, it worked out because we had some flexibility on the day that we wanted to go. But if this is really important to you and something you want to do, try to get that timed entry sooner rather than later, because especially this time of year, it's a beautiful time to be in that park. And we did find that some of our first, second, third, and fourth choices for time were not available.
Well, we kind of intended to go into the park and sort of like do sort of the main trail and have dinner in the park. And the website, a little discrepancy here.
A little bit.
Website makes you under the assumption that the park closes at dusk. And when you get there, there's signs everywhere that say park close, and these are like permanent signs. These aren't like ones they just slapped up. They say park closes at 6 o'clock.
So obviously this time of year, that's not dusk.
Yeah.
We still thought we were going to have at least another hour and a half in the park to go around and kind of check everything out, take a little hike, and then we had some backpacking meals and we were going to eat those. There's also nowhere actually to have a picnic. They don't have any sort of picnic tables or designated eating areas, at least near that main visitor center and the main parking lot. There could be in some other portions
There's like
of
benches, but that's it.
Yeah, and because our time got cut really, really short, we didn't get to explore as much as we wanted, but we did get to take what is kind of like the basic scenic loop walk around the main area of the woods, and that was really beautiful.
Gorgeous.
And there's some stunning views in there, and it was worth going over But it ended up working out because we found a beautiful park, a playground to go to in an area called Mill Valley that wasn't too far from Muir Woods. And it had a playground for the kids. It had this really cool, like, enclosed picnic area surrounded by beautiful big trees. And there was a brook that was running through it and a mill that pretended like it was old, but it wasn't really old once you read, and you felt like disappointed.
But this was sort of our first introduction to this little Mill Valley area, and Abby and I went back for a date night. And we went to
basically bar hopped.
They had a coffee shop on the square, and we went to this coffee shop.
Yeah.
And then we went to a bar and had really expensive cocktails and did a bunch of work.
Yeah, actually, it was supposed to be a date night where we were going to go out to, because Point Reyes is also in the area. You can drive out there. It's about an hour from where we were staying. You could go out there, and we didn't get to make it. That was one thing we'd planned to do, and that was going to be our date night, but we ended up canceling it because we were in the middle of all this Nomad internet research.
We're doing a lot of work on that.
We were doing a lot of work, and we felt that we needed to be good stewards of our time. And so we decided to turn our date night into a work night. But we thought, well, if we're going to turn it into a work night, let's at least go and have some drinks and check out this little town while we're doing it. So we went to three or four different locations.
In the end, we only made half of it a work night, and the rest of it was, our first set of cocktails was working, and then we went to the coffee shop and worked some more. And then we stopped, and we went to another fancy, expensive bar, and I had a whiskey flight.
It was so fun.
And you had some wine.
Yes,
and
talked to the bartender and the beverage manager about how IPAs taste like dirty diapers.
Of course, you're in an area where there are lots of great wineries in Northern California, of course, and they have lots of incredible wine options as well. And then we had dinner at a nice Italian restaurant, and
it was great.
It was wonderful.
It was a lovely evening. I think Mill Valley is just so charming. They have lots of small little shops. It looks like a really wonderful community. Plenty of art there too. There was not only a venue for live music, but then there was also a theater that was doing lots of different performing arts pieces. And I was like, hey, I want to live here. And so I started looking at houses, and I was like, do we have about 3.5 million laying around for this 2-bed, 1-bath? Because I think we could all squeeze into that, don't you?
Yeah. Sure.
So that's fine. I'll move over there eventually. We'll eventually live in Mill Valley, just not in this century.
So for you RVers, this is something we say every time that we go to a place like this: is you can RV to big cities. We have gone to Chicago, St. Louis, New Orleans, San Francisco, Los Angeles, Dallas,
San Diego, Minneapolis.
If that's not something you're into, that's fine. But if you want to explore big cities in an RV, you absolutely can do it. You might have a challenge if you are somebody that is in a medium to large size motorhome without a towed vehicle
at this campground, for sure.
But one of the cool things about big cities is that they often have really good public transportation that you can utilize to get around as well. So sometimes that might be a better option for you. If you were in a big motorhome without a towed vehicle and just have a couple bikes, this would have been a great option for you.
Absolutely. So that was our week in San Francisco. We will definitely be back to that area because we enjoyed it so much. If you have any comments about what we talked about, or you have recommendations of places we didn't get to visit, please feel free to leave them at rvmiles.com/273. That is the show notes now for these episodes. And you will also find links to everything that we talk about, as well as all of our sponsors for this episode.
All right, we'll be back in a moment to check the level of our tanks.
Be right back.
Chances are you've seen them on the road. That's because Blue Ox designs and manufactures the best towing products in the industry. Just look around, you'll find them on highways and campgrounds and anywhere you find people traveling in the great outdoors. Award-winning tow bars, base plates, and brakes, a full line of weight distributing hitches, adjustable ball mounts, and a new line of fifth wheel hitches. With Blue Ox, towing doesn't have to be a drag. To learn more about how Blue Ox can make your travel adventures even more stress-free, visit blueox.com. RV Miles is sponsored by the Road Pass Pro suite of travel apps for RVers. We love using all the apps in the Road Pass suite to plan our travels. Togo RV, Road Trippers, OvernightRVParking.com, and Campendium. You get premium access to all of them for $49.99 a year. Find the best campgrounds, the best boondocking sites, the best roadside attractions, and the best routes to get to them all in your RV, tailored for the length and height to get you there safely. Use the code RVMiles10X to get $10 off your Road Pass Pro membership at roadpass.com.
Welcome back. It is time to check the level of our tanks. Sponsored by Matt's RV Reviews Liquefied RV Toilet Treatment, the No BS RV toilet chemical that really works. You can check it out along with our recommendations for all types of RV and camping gear in our Amazon store at amazon.com/shop/RV Miles. All right, Jason, what is in your black tank this week?
My black tank is a story that was that I put in the news for this past week, and it was this consignment RV dealer, Bob Scott RV in Colorado, that closed down after selling people's RVs on consignment but without paying them. So there are lots of RVers that sort of sold their RVs for tens of thousands of dollars through this company on consignment, and expecting that the company takes a cut and then they give you a check back. So I think one of the couple that we cited in the story was that their RV was sold for $37,000. They were expecting a $31,000 check, and it wasn't coming, and they were getting all kinds of excuses. Meanwhile, that RV was legally sold and titled and registered to somebody else. So it's not like they can get it back in by calling it a theft or whatever. They're gonna I think have to deal with like bankruptcy courts and stuff now, because this Bob Scott RV has now closed down, and all of these customers, or some of them, have loans on these RVs that need to be paid off. So the banks still say, well, you need to keep paying this loan. And these people are sort of on the hook for that, which is, it's this sort of this weird situation where dealers have this sort of authority to sell RVs, and they're licensed to and all that. And they're supposed to be the one that, potentially does the payoff of the loan, and they don't. It's a really messed up situation. So be careful with the consignment stuff and going with somebody that you don't know.
Also, be careful. Don't trust people who call their businesses with two first names. Okay.
Bob Scott.
Bob Scott.
No. That was not.
Don't trust Bob Scott.
That was not the thing that would have cautioned me. It was that it was called Bob Scott RVs with an apostrophe S. There's no apostrophe in RVs. That makes it possessive. It's not possessive.
Well, to them it
RVs.
was. To them it was very possessive.
Possessive?
They kept all their money. They are fake. Like they were telling you, we've made this possessive. So if you bring it to us, we own it now. It's ours. We get to keep it, including all of the money that we make off of it. Wow. All right. Well, what is in your fresh tank this week?
My fresh tank is you're going to hate this because you hate these things. It's these tote bins from Home Depot, Husky tote bins from Home Depot. And I don't know why you don't like them, because I love them.
I don't dislike them.
They're amazing.
You are setting me up for, I don't dislike them. I have shared a valid reason. They hurt my fingers.
I think they're so easy to open and close.
They hurt my fingers when I try to open them.
I think that's because they are...
I'm dainty.
I think they are packed with too much stuff.
Yeah.
And then it's hard to open them. But when they're not packed with too much stuff, they're easy to open.
That would be a giant fly.
There's a fly on the camera.
On the camera lens.
These things, we had many bins, outdoor bins, to put our stuff in over the years. that have failed and failed and failed.
Could write
us.
a
They're
whole
broken
article on this.
So they're not super cheap, but they're not super expensive either. And they come in different sizes. There are deeper ones and shallow ones. And I like the shallower ones because you don't put a bunch of stuff that you can't reach down to.
No, what you do instead is you pack it way too full because you needed the deeper one.
Instead of getting the deeper one, you get 2 shallow ones. They stack on top of each other. They're the same height as one deep one, and they have clear lids so you can see everything inside them.
You can see how jam-packed they
The
are.
lids open on either side. There's 6 snap closures all the way around it. So you can open one side and have it hinged that way, or you can open the other side and have it hinged the other way.
But you have to have 4 of the 6
open,
snapped.
But if you have slid this into your pass-through or whatever, and you've got enough room to open something in your pass-through without taking it out entirely, it doesn't matter which way you put it in.
That's
You
a
can
great
still
feature.
open it up. But I just love they're durable. They've been out in the rain without getting water inside
Absolutely.
them. And I love the fact that they have this clear lid, which I can see which one is. I don't even have to label them because we have one that is for sort of our outdoor camping stuff and one that is sort of for extra tools and like sealants and oils and things like that, and you can easily see which one is which immediately. I've also seen a lot of people, and this is actually where I first heard about these, a lot of people store their Starlink in these. So you buy one of these bins and you keep the sort of insert from the packaging from your Starlink. It's sort of a kind of plasticky insert, and it actually fits really well into one of these bins, and you've got a bin instead of buying the $250 backpack that Starlink sells for you to carry.
We are not
just
fancy.
set ours on the floor and
No, Elon Musk's internet just goes wherever it can go when it's time to leave. I feel like you have misrepresented me. I do not hate these bins. I think they are actually the best ones we have ever owned.
Okay.
They just, maybe because they have too much in them, there is a lot of tension when you go to unsnap them. And almost every time I end up doing that thing where you're working so hard to get them to release, and then your fingers just go like down the side of the snap, and then it hurts.
Okay.
So maybe we need another one.
Maybe we need another one. I don't know where it'll go, but we need another one.
Well, it'll just go inside the rig where everything goes on travel days that we can't make fit.
What is in your black tank this week?
Okay, so my black tank is kind of a gray tank, but it's really a black tank, and I'm black tanking crosswords because I don't think that there's anything out there that can make you feel as dumb as a crossword puzzle.
Especially the New York Times Sunday crossword.
So this
you go
is
through
a
like
thing
every
now.
single clue, and you got like one, and you're like, what? There was like 400 on here, and I got one.
Oh, that was me on Sunday. So this is like our new kind of like obsession, new thing, is that we both now have subscriptions to the New York Times games so that, listen, my Wordle score has just gone way up now that WordleBot and I are friends and we chat about like my choices. But through this subscription, you can also do Sudoku, and you can do the mini crossword and the crossword, and there's like all these different things you can do, spelling bee. And so the crossword has kind of like become our latest like thing and our latest sort of competitive thing. But I had to stop being competitive really quick because I was like, this crossword on Sunday, Mondays I'm fine with, because Mondays is clearly where they like, they know everyone's really upset about Sunday, so they give you something really easy on Monday.
They get harder throughout the week.
Right. There's nothing that I do in my life that makes me feel, and I'm a parent of a teenager, and there's nothing that makes me feel so stupid like the New York Times crossword can make me feel. It is so deflating.
Well, I love when the clues are like on Sunday, it's like the clues are like a duck crossing the road, maybe ? Like they couldn't even come up with a clue that really says like it's a maybe.
You decide if you want to believe that clue or not. So this has kind of been like our Sunday morning with coffee, just chilling out, doing this crossword, and I have not finished a Sunday
I've gotten
one.
close to finishing like 2 or 3, but it's like
I get about
the timer's like
2/3.
4 hours in, and I'm like, okay, this is taking up a lot of my life now.
Timer, yeah, that's a lot of your life. Wow. I usually am like after 45 minutes, like throughout the day,
I
I'm
usually
like, peace
started
out.
in bed on Saturday night. And then I work on it a bit on Sunday morning.
So this is the new thing here around RV Miles is the New York Times crossword. And boy, it's a love-hate relationship right now.
What's in your fresh tank this week?
So my fresh tank, we want to share with all of you. Our friends Jamie and Clay have started their own podcast, and it is absolutely delightful. It's called Letters from the Road, and Jamie is such a gifted writer, and she has put together this podcast where she writes a letter every week, and she's writing these letters over on Substack, and they go and then they talk about this letter. They've done they did a question in their very first episode that had us talking for quite some time, and it was really talking about like, where are you from? Like when someone asks you, where are you from? Even
if you're not like a full-time RVer type person, like even if I wasn't an RVer at all, we were talking about how you answer that question. It's difficult if you didn't grow up and live in the same spot.
Like I tend to say I was born and raised in Kansas City, but I call Chicago home because my babies were born in Chicago. My adult life, it's like
your adult life.
My adult Abby is from Chicago.
Yeah.
But pre-adult Abby is from the Kansas City area.
Yeah, sort of.
But
you also lived
even
in Mississippi and
Louisiana.
Yeah, Louisiana.
Like so, but that's like a really weighted question, right? Like to figure out how do you say that? Like
for me, it's often like if it's real quick. If we're at the grocery store, where are you guys from? Oh, we're from Chicago, but we're actually full-time RVers or something like that.
Yeah, or sometimes we say we're from here now because we're full-time RVers.
Yeah, if I'm legitimately answering the question, it's often like, well, I'm from Western Illinois originally, and then I moved to Chicago as an adult to go to school and lived there for 16 years.
Decided to stay there, and then I worked in theater, and then the next thing you know, you've taken 5 minutes.
It's a convoluted thing, and Jamie and Clay talk about this in this episode where they were both from sort of different towns at different times, and of course now are full-time RVers, so that's even more convoluted, and it's sort of an interesting dive into that. And so that's what these episodes do, is they sort of dive into these individual sort of not always deep thinking topics, sometimes fun, sometimes entertaining, interesting,
If you love Dunkin' Donuts coffee, don't listen to their episode on coffee. Just don't do it.
Introspective and if you're not if the podcast isn't up your alley, they also have. You can just subscribe to the letters and read those. It's really interesting that way as well. But
Jamie, like I said, she's just such a gifted writer, and her latest letter was something that really had me stopping and thinking about and reflecting on some things in my own life. And I sent her a text, and I was like, this was probably my favorite letter so far, and it really kind of got me to stop and think about some things I needed to consider. So we want to encourage you to give them support. Their podcast is new. You can find it across all podcast apps, anywhere that you're listening to RV Miles, except on YouTube. They do not put theirs on YouTube because they're smart. So you can listen to this and enjoy it. We really do hope that you will support them because it is not easy to jump into the world of podcasting. It really is a slow burn.
And if you're listening on the podcast feed, not on YouTube, but if you're listening on the podcast feed, we'll drop the sort of teaser for their show at the end of this episode, so you can sort of hear it as well.
Absolutely. So there you go. Please go over and support them. We think their work is really, really great, and we're excited to continue listening.
Okay, that's it for this week's episode of the RV Miles podcast.
We did it. We made it through, everyone. Episode 273 is in the bag. So thank you so much for joining us. As we ask every single week, if you're enjoying the podcast, please consider going over to Apple Podcast and leaving RV Miles a 5-star review. Your review, that just 15 seconds that you give us of your time, is helping put this podcast in front of a whole new generation of listeners. We cannot thank you enough. If you would like to join us for Monthly Night Live, which is happening on May 1st, you can become a Mile Marker member. That support goes to so much more than just a Monthly Night Live. It is really shaping and changing the future of our small business here at RV Miles. You can learn more at rvmiles.com/mile marker. Until then, friends, please stay healthy, enjoy spring. It's finally sprung, and keep logging those RV miles.
Bye, everybody.